Hare Krishna, Sima Mataji. You cut my head, Prabhu. Okay, so reading from the Srimad Bhagavatam, first canto, sixth chapter, text number 29. Kalpanta idam adaya Shayane ambasi udanvataha Shishaisur anu pranam vivishye Vivishye antaraha vibho
Kalpanta idam adaya
Kalpanta idam adaya
Shayane
Shayane ambasi
ambasyo
udanvataha
Shishaya shyono pranam
Shishayo anu pranam
Vivishenataram vibohu
Vivishye antaraham vibho Kalpanta
Kalpanta
at the end of Brahma's one day.
at the end of Brahma's one day.
Idam,
Idam
this.
this.
Adaya,
Adaya
taking together.
taking together.
Shayane,
Shayane
having gone to lie down.
having gone to lie down.
Ambasi,
Ambasi
in the causal water.
in the causal water.
Udanvataha,
Udanvataha
devastation.
devastation.
Shishoisor,
Shishayasu
lying of the personality of God in Narayan.
lying of the personality of Godhead Narayan.
Anupranam,
Anupranam
breathing.
breathing.
Vivishe,
Vishay
entered into.
entered into.
Antar,
Antaha
within.
within.
Aham,
Aham
I.
I.
Vibho,
Vibho
of Lord Brahma.
of Lord Brahma.
Translation. And the end of millennium, when the Lord personality of Godhead Narayan lied down within the water of devastation, at that time when Brahma began to enter into him, along with all creative elements, I also entered within through his breathing. Purport by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada Ki Jai.
Jai.
Narada is known as the son of Brahma as much as Lord Krishna is the son of Vasudeva. The personality of Godhead and his liberated devotees like Narada appear in the material world by the same process. As is said in the Bhagavad Gita, that the birth and activities of the Lord are all transcendental. Therefore, according to authorized opinion, the birth of Narada as the son of Brahma is also a transcendental pastime of the devotee. His appearance and disappearance are practically on the same level as that of the Lord. The Lord and his devotees are therefore simultaneously one and different as spiritual entities. They belong to the same category of transcendence. Om Agyan Tirinandasya Gyanam Jana Shalakayam Chakshun Anminitam Yena Tasmai Sri Gurave Namaha. I was born in the darkness of ignorance, and my spiritual master is divine grace. A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada has opened my darkened eyes with the torchlight of knowledge. I offer my humble obeisances unto his lotus feet. Jai Srila Prabhupada.
Jai.
Hare Krishna Sabina Mataji. So, sorry. When the devastation took place, Lord Brahma entered into Narayan, and along with Lord Brahma, Narada also entered. See, at the time of devastation, all the jivas, they enter into the body of Mahavishnu, who's lying on the causal ocean. And then, at the time of the next creation, Lord Vishnu, he glances at the material nature and he impregnates the material nature with the living entities. That's why we consider the material nature as mother. We say mother nature, right? Hare Krishna Ekanata Mataji, Jai Srila Prabhupada. And Krishna is our father. So similarly, in a relationship with the spiritual master, he is our father. He gives the seed of Bhakti Lata, the seed of devotional service. So it is very important that we understand his transcendental position of the spiritual master. Prabhupada mentions this point in the Bhagavad Gita in the Dinosmin Yatadihi verse, 2nd chapter, 13th verse. He says that Krishna and Arjuna are not on the same platform. Otherwise, if they're on the same platform, there will be no need or there will be no meaning of one being instructor and the other being instructed. Right? So there must be a distinction. The guru must be liberated and the disciple must be conditioned. If the disciple is liberated, why does he need a spiritual master? Right? If you're liberated, if you're perfect, then you don't need to approach a spiritual master. You can just enjoy the state of liberation. So that is why we must acknowledge our conditioning, our foolishness. Krishna chastised Arjuna immediately. Hare Krishna, Karsten. You're a fool. You're thinking that the people are living or dead. Krishna says, the wise do not lament for the living entities, whether they're living or dead. That's how the Bhagavad Gita begins. There's no need to lament. Oh, he is dead. You are eternal. Deinosminyatadi kaumanam yovanam jara tatadihantara prapti tirastatra namayati. You never die. Your body dies, but you don't die. Actually, your body is dying in every single second. The body you had as a baby is gone. Where is your baby body? Can you show me? It's gone. It's dead. You have a different body. But are you dead? No, you're still the same person. So those who are lamenting, oh, I could not keep my baby body, they're foolish. Similarly, anyone who thinks that the spiritual master is dead, he's a fool. The spiritual master never dies. He is eternally living. He is eternally living in terms of his instructions. Why is that? Why the spiritual master is living through his instructions? We have heard this many times, but why? Because in the spiritual conception, there is no duality. There is no duality. The form is non-different from the conception of the form. Just like when you chant Hare Krishna. By chanting Hare Krishna, you are associating with Krishna directly. It is not that the name of Krishna is different from the person Krishna. Similarly, the form of Krishna is not different from his soul. His body is not different from his soul. And Krishna says, Avajananti mamudam manusim tamum ashritam. Param bhava majananto mama bhuta maheshwaram. Only fools and rascals, they think that I'm ordinary man, that I've entered this world like a conditioned soul is entering, right, into the material body. So similarly, the spiritual master, his instruction and himself are non-different. There's no difference. How can we understand this? We cannot. We cannot understand this by our mundane brain, mundane logic. It is not possible. That's why Srila Jiva Goswami says that unless you accept the inconceivable, the Achinta Shakti, the inconceivable nature of the Lord, there is no question of understanding anything about spiritual life. So there is no difference between what the Guru says and himself. Again, what is transcendental knowledge? Transcendental knowledge is not a material knowledge. Material knowledge is always incomplete, just like the materialistic scientists. Always incomplete. Always coming with a new theory. Always a new vaccine, right? So the spiritual knowledge is not like that. It is a realized knowledge. That knowledge is already in your heart. It is already there, but it is covered. So the spiritual master, he awakens the jiva, the spirit soul, to his original knowledge, to transcendental knowledge of himself, of God, and so on and so on. So it doesn't matter how much instruction the spiritual master gives. The spiritual master's instruction is always complete. Okay, so whether Srila Prabhupada writes 80 books or whether he writes one book, it is the same. There is no quantitative difference. This is another nature of transcendental conception. 1 + 1 = 1. Om Purnam Adaha Purnamidam Purnat Purnam Udakshate Purnasyam Purnamaraya Purnameva Vashishyate. This is the nature of transcendence of Krishna, of his devotee, of the relationships. Right? They're complete. There's no lacking. So transcendental knowledge, sometimes there's an objection. How will you know? Srila Prabhupada is not present physically. So if you have a question, how can he answer? He's not here, so he's incomplete. He's a loser. Prabhupada is a loser. No. Whatever he has given, that is complete. The only incompleteness is your incomplete understanding of the complete. In other words, you have to remove the ignorance from your eyes, from your ears. Okay, so this is why the spiritual master is not different from his instructions. Another point is, the spiritual master is not different from his body, just like Krishna. When we see the spiritual master, this is not a material body that is undergoing tribulations of the material existence. And there is a compilation we have made. I would like to read from this compilation because there are many nice quotes there that relates to this shloka. So I'm posting it to the chat now. Fools think Guru to be an ordinary man. Okay, so Prabhu, if you can kindly click on this link. It is not some secret advertisement that you click on the link and you lose all your money or something. So let me know if you can access the link. It should be very easy. And then you appear on the Expand the Bliss website. And there's an article called Fools Think Guru to be an Ordinary Man. And these are the series of quotes from Srila Prabhupada. Just quotes from Srila Prabhupada. There's nothing written by myself or anyone. So let's read. Okay, so the first quote is, it is better service to Krishna and spiritual master in a feeling of separation. Sometimes there is risk in the matter of direct service. Okay, so Srila Prabhupada actually warns that this physical association with the Guru is not recommended. Okay. Anyone can access this article? Let me know if anyone has a difficulty. So Srila Prabhupada says here, this should not be done. One should not associate with the Guru physically. Huh? For example, now he's giving an example, what happened. Kirtanananda was giving me direct service by massaging, cooking for me, and so many other things. But later on, by dictation of Maya, he became puffed up, so much so that he thought his spiritual master a common man and was existing only on account of his service. This mentality at once pushed him down. Of course, those who are sincere devotees, they take direct service as an opportunity. But the illusory energy is so strong that it acts on this doctrine of familiarity breeds contempt. Kirtanananda was thinking I was existing on his service instead of realizing I was giving him opportunity to do me some service. You see, so it is not that it is that we should reject the service, direct service, but there's a danger in direct service that we develop this offensive mentality. So it is not recommended. One should serve from a distance. The Guru gives you instruction, you fulfill that instruction. Don't try to utilize the Guru for your own sense gratification. That is not a Guru who accepts such a disciple. Okay, so that's the first quote. Next, both the Lord's deity form and the spiritual master should be seen from a distant place. This is called Maryada. Otherwise, as it is said, familiarity breeds contempt. Prabhupada repeats. Sometimes coming too near the deity or the spiritual master degrades the nearby devotee. There's a degradation. Hare Krishna. Alex, Prabhu. Personal servants of the deity and the spiritual master should therefore always be very careful, for negligence may overcome them in their duty. Next, Maya is so strong that unless one is determined not to fall victim, even the Supreme Personality of Godhead cannot give protection. The Supreme Lord and His representative always want to give protection, but a person must take advantage of their personal contact. If one thinks that the Supreme Personality of Godhead or His representative is an ordinary man, he will certainly fall down. You see? So those who claim that, the Guru is dead, that you need a living Guru, and so on, that's the invitation to fall down. They must fall down. Next, Damodar Pandit was a great devotee of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Sometimes, however, a person in such a position becomes impudent, being influenced by the external energy and material considerations. Thus, a devotee mistakenly dares to criticize the activities of the spiritual master or the Supreme Personality of Godhead. You see, so just like people say, oh, Prabhupada is not physically present, so he's a fool because he gave an instruction that we cannot accomplish. Right? Prabhupada says, read my books, go on preaching Krishna consciousness, you be gurus on my behalf, that's okay. Now if you say, no, I'm not satisfied, then we're criticizing Srila Prabhupada. I'm not satisfied, I must have Prabhupada physically, to scratch my back. Nonsense. Despite the logic that Caesar's wife must be above suspicion, a devotee should not be disturbed by the activities of his spiritual master and should not try to criticize him. A devotee should be fixed in the conclusion that the spiritual master cannot be subject to criticism and should never be considered equal to a common man. See, if someone thinks that the spiritual master is subjected to death, that is the worst type of criticism. The spiritual master is liberated. If he is subjected to death, how can he liberate you from death? Just common sense. Even if there appears to be some discrepancy according to an imperfect devotee's estimation, as I said, incomplete understanding of the complete. Devotee should be fixed in the conviction that even if his spiritual master goes to a liquor shop, he is not a drunkard. Rather, he must have some purpose in going there. It is said in a Bengali poem, even if I see that Lord Nityananda has entered a liquor shop, I shall not be diverted from my conclusion that Nityananda Rai is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So Prabhupada departed, so what? Does it mean that now we stop chanting Hare Krishna? Does it mean that we stop worshipping Krishna? Does it mean that we don't play Mridanga anymore? We don't read his books anymore? He's not here physically to tell us, oh, you have to chant Hare Krishna. No, we go on. That's why he is the spiritual master. He is present by his instruction. Okay. Srila Prabhupada manifests. This is called a lila. It's a transcendental pastime that he departs from this world. But this is not an ordinary activity of a conditioned soul. This is simply for our guidance. And I have mentioned this previously in a class. Such activity, first of all, serves as guidance for his disciples, how to act in Krishna consciousness at the time of death, and simultaneously, vinashaya cha duskatam, it serves as a bewilderment for the demonic people, to bewilder them more. The more we think that Krishna is an ordinary man, the more we think that Prabhupada is an ordinary man, the more we misunderstand his teachings, and the more we become sinful. You cannot practice Krishna consciousness unless you surrender to the spiritual master, you follow his instructions. But if you think, oh, well, Prabhupada is an ordinary man, he was spaced out sometimes, he was subjected to death, to disease. When he was writing this purport, he was not really feeling all right. How can you accept him? The example how to accept a spiritual master is manifested by Arjuna. Arjuna says, I accept everything you say, my Lord, in total. Everything. If we make a distinction, oh, this instruction I do not like, this instruction I like, then what is this question of surrender? But if you think that the spiritual master is a conditioned soul, then you're bound to make such selective so-called following. So it's very important. Okay, I'm going to skip. There are a few quotes that do not relate exactly to this point. So it will be a great mistake. We're going to read this one now. It will be a great mistake if somebody thinks that Krishna or Krishna's representative, just like bona fide representative, Jesus Christ or other great, leaders of the religious faiths, they do not come with the inferior nature. They come with the superior nature of God. That we have to accept. If we have to accept the truth explained in the Bhagavad Gita, then we must accept that God and his representative, they do not come, who come directly from the kingdom of God. They do not come accepting this inferior nature. Right? So, Srila Prabhupada is never in ignorance about anything. He's never controlled by the material nature, by any sort of ignorance. What we see is simply a transcendental pastimes. And those who do not accept this, they're faithless. They have no faith. They cannot make any advancement in Krishna consciousness. They might study the Bhagavad Gita, they might chant Hare Krishna, but because they have no faith, they cannot move. They will always be skeptical, always be doubtful. They cannot make any advancement. There is a nice purport in the Bhagavad Gita where Prabhupada discusses this point. And many people, maybe someone can find, some of you who are more experts in reading, you can quote this nice purport where Prabhupada speaks about how someone might be reading the Bhagavad Gita, but he might not have the faith that Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So someone might be chanting Hare Krishna, reading Srila Prabhupada's books, but he doesn't have faith that Srila Prabhupada is a liberated spiritual master. You see, that is very difficult to point out. It's the consciousness, faith. How can you show faith? Of course, that is also seen later on, because such a person will not follow his instructions. Faithless person cannot follow the instructions. He is coming to take advantage of the spiritual master's mercy. Okay? I mean, this is very obvious. All these quotes are mentioned by Srila Prabhupada. Anyone who doesn't accept this, anyone who still goes on with this nonsense dogma that you need a living guru, you need a living, in other words, materially contaminated guru, he's a nonsense. He doesn't accept Srila Prabhupada, because Srila Prabhupada and the Acharyas and Krishna in the Bhagavad Gita, they say the complete opposite. Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita, he's already, he comes under the influence of the superior nature, the Mahatma. He is in the superior nature. Yoga Maya, not Mahamaya. There's a difference. Okay, next. Foolish people consider Krishna a human being, and they consider Lord Krishna's pure devotee an ordinary human being also. So there you go. That's the conclusion. I do not say, if you say, oh Purujit, you are offensive. I do not say, it's Prabhupada is the offender. If you think it's offense, then Prabhupada is the offender, because he calls such people, the living guru, philosophy, sampradaya, he calls them fools. Here it is very clearly stated, foolish people consider a pure devotee an ordinary human being. If you need a living guru, that means that the guru is dead. Right? That's what they say. Anyone who says you need a living guru, what he's saying is that Prabhupada is dead. Let's be clear on that. This is what he actually is saying, right? Because if there's a living guru, there must be a dead guru. You follow? It's very offensive. Next, karmis may consider the body of a devotee material, but factually it is not, for a devotee has no conception of material enjoyment. So here again, another nice word. A karmi. You are a karmi. If you think that Prabhupada is dead, you are a karmi and a fool. I do not say, Srila Prabhupada says. If one thinks that the body of a pure devotee is material, he is an offender, for that is a Vaishnava aparad. He is an offender. Okay? So 3, you can remember. Fool, karmi, and an offender. Do we want to take guidance from such a person? He's not even a disciple, what to speak of a guru. How can a disciple think of his spiritual master in such offensive way? Next, material means when the consciousness is not Krishna, that is material. The same example, that iron rod, if kept to the fire, gradually becomes warmer, and at last it becomes red. When it is red, it is no longer iron, it is fire. Similarly, by spiritual association, your body gradually becomes spiritualized. And at the perfection stage, there is no more material activities, simply the activities of the fire. That is stated in the Bhagavad Gita. Mam chavya vibacharini bhakti yogenaya sevate sagunan samatitya brahma bhuyai kalpate. The whole body becomes supplemented with Brahman effulgence. It is not for everyone. It is not for everyone. And those who are very, very much spiritually advanced, their body becomes like that. Not that all devotees have spiritual bodies. There is a difference of advancement. Right? This is personalism. Everyone is individual approach. Someone is more advanced, someone is less advanced. That depends on your free will, how much you want to advance in Krishna consciousness. Not that everyone is the same. That is Mayavad. That is impersonalism. No distinction. So it is not everyone has spiritual body. Only a pure devotee. Therefore, a Vaishnava's acharya body is never burned. It is entombed. They worship the body. But that is spiritual body. Okay? The acharya, his body is not burned. It is put into a samadhi. But if my body is put into samadhi, then, you become an offender. Yeah. Because you're equalizing a neophyte devotee with the pure devotee. Next, the spiritual master or acharya is always situated in the spiritual status of life. Birth, death, old age and disease do not affect him. According to the Haribhakta B.L.I.S.S, therefore, after the disappearance of an acharya, his body is never burned to ashes, for it is a spiritual body. The spiritual body is always unaffected by material conditions. Sometimes I hear devotees, they say, oh, Prabhupada, when he left his body, this is wrong. How can you say like that? Prabhupada never leaves his body. He is his body. That's why the body is worshipable. And it doesn't deteriorate. The body of the acharya doesn't deteriorate. Next, the first sign of the Mahatma is that he's already situated in the divine nature. He's not under the control of material nature. We discussed that before. Next, Krishna's representative comes into the material energy in order to preach. Although he is within the material energy, he is not under its control. But if you come in contact with material energy without serving Krishna's purpose, you suffer. For instance, in a jail, there are many superintendents and government officials. There are also prisoners. However, their conditions differ. We cannot say that because they're all in jail, that they're all suffering in the same way. The superintendent is there because he's serving the government's purpose. Therefore, he is not subject to the laws of the jail. Okay, then Prabhupada elaborates on this example in the following quote. We can skip. Next, Gurushu means those who are acharyas to accept their body as ordinary man's body. This is denied in the Shastras. Next, a spiritual body is not formless. It is a different type of body of which we cannot conceive with our present mundane senses. Formless, therefore, means devoid of mundane form or possessing a spiritual body of which the non-devotee can have no conception by the speculative methods. We cannot understand with our minds, oh, how is it spiritual? How? You must accept what the Shastra says. Yes, it is spiritual. How it is spiritual, that you cannot understand. But you must accept. If you have no faith, as I said before, you cannot make any advancement. Next. Hari, or the personality of Godhead, is the supreme transcendental person situated beyond the range of material affection. These statements are also confirmed even by Acharya Shankara. One may argue that his relation with the goddesses of fortune may be transcendental, but what about his relation with the Yadu dynasty, being born in that family, or his killing the non-believers like Jarasandha and other asuras directly in contact with the modes of material nature? The answer is that the divinity of the personality of Godhead is never in contact with the qualities of material nature in any circumstances. Actually, he is in contact with such qualities because he is the ultimate source of everything, yet he is above the actions of such qualities. He is known, therefore, as Yogeshwara, or the master of mystic power, or in other words, the all-powerful. Even his learned devotees are not affected by the influence of the material modes. The great 6 Goswamis of Vrindavan all came from greatly rich and aristocratic families, but when they adopted the life of mendicants in Vrindavan, superficially they appeared to be in wretched conditions of life, but factually they were the richest of all in spiritual values. Such Mahabhagavats or first-grade devotees, although moving amongst men, are not contaminated by honor or insult, hunger or satisfaction, by sleep or wakefulness, which are all resultant actions of the three modes of material nature. Similarly, some of them are engaged in worldly dealings, yet are unaffected. Unless these neutralities of life are there, one cannot be considered situated in transcendence. The divinity and his associates are on the same transcendental plane, and their glories are always sanctified by the action of Yogamaya, or the internal potency of the Lord. Okay. Next, to be in Krishna consciousness or in devotional service means to acquire the equality of Krishna. The Lord says that his nature is eternal, blissful, and full of knowledge. And the living entities are part and parcel of the Supreme, as gold particles are part of a gold mine. Thus, the living entity's spiritual position is as good as gold, as good as Krishna in quality. The difference of individuality continues. Otherwise, there is no question of Bhakti Yoga. Bhakti Yoga means that the Lord is there, the devotee is there, and the activity of exchange of love between the Lord and the devotee is there. Therefore, the individuality of two persons is present in the Supreme Personality of Godhead and the individual person. Otherwise, there is no meaning to Bhakti Yoga. If one is not situated in the same transcendental position with the Lord, one cannot serve the Supreme Lord. To be a personal assistant to a king, one must acquire the qualifications. Thus, the qualification is to become Brahman, or freed from all material contamination. So that explains the nature of a pure devotee. Next. Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur gives his opinion about how a person completely engaged in the service of the Lord transforms his body from material to transcendental. He says, a pure devotee engaged in the service of Lord Krishna has no desire for his personal sense gratification, and thus he never accepts anything for that purpose. He desires only the happiness of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna, and because of his ecstatic love for Krishna, he acts in various ways. Karmis think that the material body is an instrument for material enjoyment, and that is why they work extremely hard. A devotee, however, has no such desires. A devotee always engages wholeheartedly in the service of the Lord, forgetting about bodily conceptions and bodily activities. The body of a karmi is called material because the karmi, being too absorbed in material activities, is always eager to enjoy material facilities. But the body of a devotee who tries his best to work very hard for the satisfaction of Krishna by fully engaging in the Lord's service must be accepted as transcendental. Whereas karmis are interested only in the personal satisfaction of their senses, devotees work for the satisfaction of the Supreme Lord. Therefore, one who cannot distinguish between devotion and ordinary karma may mistakenly consider the body of a pure devotee material. Okay, so another hint. Those who think that you need a living guru, they cannot distinguish between devotion and ordinary karma. Okay? Does it make sense? One who knows does not commit such a mistake. Non-devotees who consider devotional activities and ordinary material activities to be on the same level are offenders to the chanting of the transcendental holy name of the Lord. A pure devotee knows that a devotee's body, being always transcendental, is just suitable for rendering service to the Lord. A devotee on the topmost platform of devotional service always humbly thinks that he is not rendering any devotional service. He thinks that he is poor in devotional service and that his body is material. Okay, so a pure devotee doesn't have a material body, but his mood is that he thinks that he has a material body. On the other hand, those known as the Sajiyas, cheap devotees, pretenders, foolishly think that their bodies are transcendental. Because of this, they're always bereft of the association of pure devotees, and thus they cannot behave like Vaishnavas. Very strong words. Observing the defects of the Sajiyas, Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur has sung as follows in his book Kalyana Kalpataru. If I think I'm a Vaishnava, I shall look forward to receiving respect from others. Bhakta Nays, he made this nice meme on the Bliss family. We should never think, I'm a Vaishnava. We should never call, we are the Vaishnavas, I'm a Vaishnava, I became a Vaishnava. No, we aspiring Vaishnavas, eternally aspiring, always in a humble position. And if the desire for fame and reputation pollute my heart, certainly I shall go to hell. By giving others the remnants of my food, I shall consider myself superior, and I shall be burdened with the weight of false pride. Therefore, always remaining your surrendered disciple, I shall not accept worship from anyone else. Srila Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami has written, wherever there is a relationship of love of Godhead, the natural symptoms are that the devotee does not think himself a devotee, but always thinks that he has not even a drop of love for Krishna. Next, karmis may consider the body of a devotee material, but factually it is not. For a devotee has no conception of material enjoyment. If one thinks that the body of a pure devotee is material, he is an offender, for that is a Vaishnava aparad. I think this is a mistake here. This quote was already given. Next, although Balabhadra Bhattacharya was personally serving Lord Krishna in his role as a devotee, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he mistook Lord Krishna for an ordinary man, and an ordinary man for Lord Krishna because he did not follow the rules set down by Shastra and Guru. So there's so many quotes. This is just a small fraction that we should never think of the Guru as an ordinary man. If we think like that, there is no question of learning anything from the Guru. So this is very much important. Of course, when the Guru is not present, we can take guidance from what is called a Shiksha Guru. That is not a crime, that is actually recommended. But that Shiksha Guru will certainly not say that I'm a Shiksha Guru because the Diksha Guru is dead. This way or that way, trying to prove, oh, I am here, you must accept me because my Guru is dead. What kind of thing is that? The disciple should be the representative of the Guru, not compete with him in any way. A person who's competing with the spiritual master is not a Vaishnava. He is a Mayavadi. Guruhana. This is the practice in the Mayavadi Sampradaya. Prabhupada talks about this. You take a ladder, you climb up the ladder, and when you're on the top, you kick out the ladder. Similarly, you accept a Guru, you learn from him, and then when you have sufficient knowledge, you kill the Guru, and you take a seat. Prabhupada said this is the Mayavadi mentality. Vaishnava is always serving, just like Srila Prabhupada. Always serving his Guru Maharaj. Prabhupada never said, oh, my Guru Maharaj is dead, so I am alive. See, I have a living, strong body. I can push weights very nicely, so you accept me. No. He's living. His Guru Maharaj is living through his disciple because his disciple is following his instructions. So you become a living Guru, yes, by serving the instruction of Srila Prabhupada. That is a real living Guru. Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati says, one who has life, he can preach. A dead man cannot preach. So a dead Guru is a Guru who cannot preach. And he's depending on these so-called ideas, twisting the Shastra in this way or that way. Depending on mundane formalities, mundane appointments, ecclesiastical appointments, like that. Because he cannot preach. One who preached, look at Srila Prabhupada. Prabhupada, he went to New York alone, without any help, without anything. But he's a living Guru because he can manifest Krishna anywhere. He doesn't depend on any certificates or appointments or even help, financial help. He can set up Krishna temples wherever he goes. So we should become such living gurus. This is the real challenge. And if we go on like this, oh, living guru and this and that, I have a nice body, and then we do not even understand the first teaching of the Bhagavad Gita, that we're not this body. Okay, so don't be misguided by such nonsense theories. Jai.
Any questions for Bruce? Okay, Nicolina is asking. Okay, sorry, hold on. There are many questions here. I just got to go back, Bruce. Just give me a second. Okay, Hare Krishna to Alex Che. Thank you for coming.
Questions, comments?
Yeah, there's a system that Anders Prabhu suggested last night. It was a very good system. Perhaps everyone who's listening can follow it. You just put a comment in all caps if you're writing just a comment, a realization, or something like that. And if you have a question, then you can put question in all capitals, because then it's easier for us to look through. Otherwise we have to scroll through so many comments and determine whether it's a question or not, and in that way we waste time. Okay, Nicolina, I understand you have a question. I don't quite follow the question. She says, can you please explain what about Sadhu, Shastra and Guru? Not sure if I understand this correctly. Then she quoted Srimad Bhagavatam 4:16:1. Maybe you can a little elaborate.
She's elaborating there.
Okay.
Later on.
Okay. Isn't it true that it's in contrast to the Guru, Sadhu Shastra? There's no need to be initiated by a spiritual master for the advancement of a devotee. My apologies if it's already been said, that I'll listen to the lecture later. Thank you. Hare Krishna.
No, we never said that one should not be initiated. Initiation is necessary. Otherwise, how can you advance? You must be initiated. You must surrender to the spiritual master. But initiation is not a physical, material affair. This is the point. So I think your understanding of initiation is maybe confusing. Nicolina, what do you mean by initiation? Because the acharyas, Guru, Sadhu, Shastra, and the Shastra says that initiation is through the transcendental knowledge. Through hearing, we're getting initiated by the knowledge. Tadvidi pranipatena pariprashnena sevaya uparikshanti tejnanam. Tejnanam. Uparikshanti tejnanam. Jnaninastato darshinaha. Krishna says, just try to understand just try to approach a self-realized spiritual master, inquire from him, submissively and render service unto him. He will initiate you by knowledge because he has seen the truth. So initiation is by knowledge, not by physical touch. Is that clear? Okay, Peter is asking, sorry for my poor level of knowledge. I do understand that Guru's body is spiritual, but Srila Prabhupada had material body as well. So it's like he has material and spiritual body in parallel. Please, could you help me to understand? No, he doesn't have a material body. When you say material, Prabhupada already explained. See, we have a kind of a stereotypical understanding of what is material and spiritual. We think spiritual means not perceivable, right? We think spiritual, you cannot perceive, you cannot see, you cannot taste. It's like, it's spiritual.
Well, you can't in one step,
No, that's what people think, generally. They have this impersonal idea what is spiritual. Denial of form, denial of name. They think this is spiritual. And when they see a form, they think, oh, this is material because I can perceive it. This is general understanding. So this is a misconception. From the Vaishnava Acharyas, the definition of material is used for my sense gratification. If I use, let's say, this room for my sense gratification, it is material. If we use it to read Srimad Bhagavatam, to chant Hare Krishna, to engage in the service of Krishna, this room becomes a temple. Okay, so because pure devotee's body is fully engaged for the service of Krishna, it is spiritual. To us, it appears as material because we're also, blind man thinks everyone else is blind. Because our body is material, we think of sense gratification. We also think, well, Prabhupada is a body, he also must be thinking like me. So that is our problem. The sun is covered by the clouds. So you cannot see the sun. But actually, the sun cannot be covered by the tiny little insignificant clouds on the earth. Your vision of the sun is covered by the clouds. This is the right understanding. So it is not that the Guru's body is material. Your vision is material. That's why you see the spiritual body of Krishna and the spiritual master as material. That's why we have to purify our eyes. Premanjana charita bhakti vilochanena. Sri Brahma Samhita says, one has to have the eyes purified by the salve of love. So by service, we're purified and then we'll be able to perceive the Acharya's form and its true spiritual beauty. But for the time being, we should simply accept on the authority of the statement. Guru, how Prabhupada is a spiritual body, I don't know. But he has a spiritual body. He is not affected by the material laws. Is that all right, Peter?
I agree. Is this question finished? Are you finished answering this question?
There's some other questions there, but if you want to cut in, yeah.
But spiritual is beyond the range of the senses also. I understand how you explain. I understand, the explanation.
Yeah.
It's the material. Blind man thinks everyone else is blind. So
yes.
Like that. But at the same time, Prabhupada is also always with Krishna, for example. So why can't we perceive, even because when Krishna came
yes.
to earth, people could see Krishna.
Right.
But they couldn't understand it was Krishna.
Right.
They could see his form.
Yes.
They couldn't understand it was him.
Yeah. They couldn't.
No, the Janati Mamuda,
yeah, they couldn't understand. It was Krishna.
They
saw him, but they couldn't understand.
That's what I'm saying. But they could see his form.
Yes.
But Prabhupada is also with Krishna all the time. That's the quote, right? That the pure devotee is always embraced by the Supreme Lord.
Right.
But why can't we perceive Krishna with Prabhupada?
Because Krishna doesn't come. It's not his Leela now.
But I thought he is always embraced. What does it mean he's always embraced?
Well, it's not. Well, he's in the spiritual world. It's not his lila now. Krishna appeared 5,000 years ago. It's not that he is always appearing. He has his individuality. So he is present, definitely, but at the same time, he has a specific lila, a specific time when he appears. Otherwise, there's no meaning to his activities. If Krishna is everywhere and, at the same time, then where is he?
I didn't mean everywhere. But he is also everywhere at the same time.
But at the same time, he's not. That's what Krishna says.
Yeah.
I'm everywhere and yet I am not there.
Yeah, because the original form...
The original form is separate, yes.
Okay.
So, Ekanata Mataji says, someone asked me why Srila Prabhupada did not initiate in the name of his guru. Well, this is very easy to understand because Srila Prabhupada is the next Acharya. I don't really understand your question, Mataji. There is a Diksha Guru and Shiksha Guru, right? So Prabhupada is a Diksha Guru. Diksha. Every Diksha Guru gives, Prabhupada calls it a lift to the Sampradaya. He gives something special, some special, he has a special mission. For example, Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati asked his disciples to chant 64 rounds. So Prabhupada minimized it to 16. So only a Diksha Guru, he can change the discipline like that. He doesn't change, but he has a full understanding, full realization, and that's how he knows how to apply the teachings of the Shastra according to time, place, and circumstances. So Prabhupada was the successor of Bhaktisiddhanta by his writing, by his mission, and by the empowerment, by the order of Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur. We're not successors. Everything we know is from Prabhupada. I'm not writing my own commentaries on the Bhagavad Gita and explaining some new things that the previous acharyas never gave before. The acharya, Diksha acharya, he cannot repeat. When he's writing, he should not repeat. Prabhupada says this in the Chaitanya Charitamrita. It's not that I take some purports of Prabhupada and I copy paste and I make my own commentary. Does it make sense, Mataji? It's a very simple question.
So just to elaborate on this question, I'm sorry. But,
yes?
I never quite understood this particular point, because if the Diksha Guru is giving the knowledge, isn't the knowledge absolute, like it's complete?
Yeah.
It's always complete.
Yes.
So what new thing can he give, in one sense? I understand, if we say Prabhupada, he was giving the medical initiation to the manachas.
Yes.
That's a new, formality.
Yeah.
But in terms of knowledge, how can you give something new? Isn't the guru always giving complete knowledge?
Just like, the purport is given, but we're having a class, we're discussing.
Yeah.
So it's not new, but there's elaboration on the knowledge, right? But when we speak of a Diksha Guru, he gives something that nobody else can understand. He is getting a revelation directly from Krishna. This preaching for the West, Prabhupada had to adjust so many things. He couldn't just come with the same discipline. Okay, now you chant 64 rounds. And, just like Bhaktisiddhanta was preaching. He actually mentions this in the Chaitanya Charitamrita. He says that foolish people don't understand that you are preaching in a certain way in India, but that way will not work in the Western countries.
Right.
So, that requires an expert realization.
That's to do with the philosophy as well, also. Because 64 rounds is just, again, like a practice. It's
yes.
Exactly. I'm talking about when we're talking about give something new, does that also mean the philosophy? Because you mentioned like he's
No, philosophy is the same, but Prabhupada actually, there's a conversation. They're asking him who can give the new Shruti, Smriti. The Shruti is there, and there's a Smriti. Smriti is in pursuance of Shruti, yes. And then Pushta Krishna, the disciple, is asking, so Smriti is given by Acharya, so they present something new, and Prabhupada says, not new, nothing new. But just like Lord Chaitanya, this Harinama, Harinama, Harinama eva kevalam kalo nasti eva nasti eva nasti eva gatiranyata, that instruction was there in the Shastra for thousands of years.
Right.
But Lord Chaitanya picked it up. Okay, now we're following this. Now we're going to inaugurate the Yuga Dharma.
Right.
You see? So that might have seemed very revolutionary at that time. Oh, what? Now Yuga Dharma only by the holy name, not by the Garbhodana Samskara and the Vaidik Diksha and so many things. That might have seemed revolutionary. Similarly, Srila Prabhupada, what he has introduced might seem revolutionary because Bhaktisiddhanta was preaching in a different way. But both have perfect understanding of Shastra. See, Shastra. Prabhupada is giving, he is quoting and he's reading and commenting on the commentaries of the previous acharyas. Sridhar Swami, Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, Baladeva Vidibhushana, all these he's quoting. Because he's a pure devotee. When you become a pure devotee, then in one sense you don't need your spiritual master in the sense that like we do. You know, you become full in knowledge.
Right.
So the treasure house of knowledge opens up to you. All the acharyas, they come and they serve you. This is parampara. It's the other way around. We're thinking, oh, guru means, okay, I have to serve him. And that guru, he's like, oh, okay, he's serving me, he's inferior. But the Mahabhagavats, they don't think like that. The Mahabhagavats, they see their disciples as their spiritual masters. It's the other way around. So at that point, when you become perfect, all the Acharya, I mean, you, I don't know, let's say Srila Prabhupada, okay? Srila Prabhupada is now, let's go back to 1965. Prabhupada starts his mission in the USA and he starts writing the commentaries. All the acharyas, they manifest to him and they're serving him to write all these purports. This is what we're dealing with. Not such a cheap thing. And those people who say, oh, I'm also a Diksha Guru, they're fools, kick on their face millions of times. And then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 more. Does it make sense?
Yeah. There's a question.
So then someone might say, well, Bhaktisiddhanta didn't talk about this. He's deviating from Bhaktisiddhanta. And just like his godbrothers, right? They found fault with Prabhupada. Oh, you're going against Bhaktisiddhanta. You're not following Bhaktisiddhanta. Because they don't have the perfect understanding of Shastra. Only an Uttamadikari, he can back up his realization by Shastra completely. Right? Neophyte, what to speak of understanding? He has no affinity. He doesn't like to hear the Shastra. He wants to get some, material benefits. That is a neophyte, Kanishta. For him, deity worship. You worship the deity, my friend. He has no taste for hearing from the authorities. Madhyamadikari, he becomes liberated. He has firm faith. But again, his understanding of the Shastra is also incomplete. He's not yet complete. He also cannot give, commentaries on the Shastra and so on. It's only an Uttamadikari. An Uttamadikari, Swarupa Siddhi, he talks to Krishna directly, has a direct relationship with Krishna. So from that, we can understand he has a direct relationship with his Guru. Right? Bhaktisiddhanta is with him. When Prabhupada says, my Guru Maharaj is always with me, it's not like imaginary. It's real. Bhaktisiddhanta is right there with him. Bhakti Vinod Thakur is right there with him. Gorakishra's Babaji is with him. So only such a personality can write purports. purports that, because we are also encouraged to write, but when we speak of purports, meaning, bringing new teachings, new in the sense of according to time, place and circumstance, so according to the Shastra. Okay?
Yeah.
Okay, so next, Anjali is asking, if Prabhupada is Diksha Guru, who is Shiksha Guru? Well, I don't know exactly what you want to know. Do you mean to say, should I mention a particular name, or should I explain a qualification? Everyone can be a Shiksha Guru, provided they repeat what the Diksha Guru says. And one who has perfect realization of what the Diksha Guru says, he is a perfect Shiksha Guru, a pure devotee Shiksha Guru. Such a disciple, such a elevated godbrother, we should seek his association. Because at that point, he becomes a perfect Shiksha Guru. But it doesn't mean, and he's bringing something new, what Prabhupada says. So there's still a distinction, subtle distinction, simultaneously one and different. Okay? Tell me if it satisfies your question, Anjali Prabhu, if you're still there. Anything else? Can you see the questions there? Or?
There's nothing else.
Because I lost it.
There's nothing else.
Okay, so is that all right, Anjali Prabhu? Shiksha Guru is one who repeats what the Diksha Guru says. If you repeat what Prabhupada says, then you are Shiksha Guru. But Prabhupada also said that one must be perfect. Not that I'm a Shiksha Guru by some appointment or, We should always think that we're Shiksha Gurus in training. That is a safe position. Because a Shiksha Guru also, he can be Mahabhagavat, and if a Shiksha Guru becomes a Mahabhagavat, then he's worshipable. So someone might get illusion also that I'm not a Diksha Guru, I'm a Shiksha Guru. Right? And we have the same nonsense going on. So we should always think that we are aspiring Shiksha Gurus, not the actual Shiksha Gurus. And emphasize Prabhupada always. There's no problem. Actually, such an elevated Mahabhagavat Shiksha Guru will put all the emphasis on Srila Prabhupada. Very humbly. He will be very humble. I don't think he would accept any type of worship.
Shiksha Guru.
Yeah, if there was such a, very highly elevated Shiksha Guru, I don't think he would accept worship. That is also stated. One should not pass an honor that is due to the elderly spiritual master. Right? He will not distract from Srila Prabhupada. He will not distract people from Srila Prabhupada. And we have that example in history. Jayananda Prabhu.
Right.
He was a pure devotee. Srila Prabhupada confirmed this. He was a pure devotee. He went back home, back to Godhead. And what to speak of being some kind of a worshipable Shiksha Guru. He would collect trash in a temple. And when devotees asking, Jayananda Prabhu, can you give a class? He says, I don't know, I'm a fool. You give better classes. You see, so we can learn from Jayananda Prabhu how to act as perfect disciples of Srila Prabhupada. Okay, Prabhu. Okay, Anjali is satisfied. Wonderful. Thank you so much. Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Nitai Gaura Premanandi. Hari 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 Bol.
Shishi Gaunitai ki jai. Srila Prabhupada ki jai.
Hari Hari Bol.
Krishna Jai, Krishna Jai, Krishna Jai,
I thought there was going to be 1 million questions from the living Guru Sampradaya. There was none.